So perfect. So thank you everyone for joining us today. We're really happy that you are here. We're here today to discuss mastering safety compliance with a real-time audit trail. We're really looking to challenge the status quo. And again, we invite you to participate in today's discussion. We really want to hear your thoughts and your feedback, your experiences as we're going through what resonates and the like. So with that being said, just a few quick housekeepings. One, this session is being recorded. So if you're uncomfortable with that, please let me know and we can follow up directly afterwards. Our goal is to come in at 30 minutes, although Richard and I have never been known to not be verbose, so we will do our best to stay online. And again, we're looking for this to be an interactive session. I think it's more enjoyable for everybody if it is. So please turn on your video. Please join us in and participate in the discussion as we go. Joining me today, we have Richard and Jorge. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, but Richard is going to be participating in the session, and Jorge is going to be here to address any questions, any logistical issues you have. If you have any questions that you want to bring forward, please do. You can submit them through the chat if you feel more comfortable. So he'll be monitoring that and is available to discuss and answer any questions. So Richard, you want to take a few minutes or a moment and introduce yourself?
Well, it's a quick moment. So being that I'm business development, first of all, I'm very pleased to have everybody on board. You can't develop business if you're not speaking with people. So as I said earlier, for those that arrived early, we hope this is the first of many conversations. We're going to tell you a lot about ourselves today because that's how selfish we are. But later on, we'd like to hear about you folks. We'd like to hear about your challenges, and we'd like to aim our replies directly to your company, your situation, your locations, and all of those things. So from a business development side, I've been around for a while, selling throughout North America, and so that's all I want to say.
Perfect. And Jorge, you want to step over and introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everybody. My name is Jorge Monteverde. I am the client advisor. And a little bit about myself, I spent the last 5 years working in business development with a focus in sustainability. My academic background is in sustainability as well, environmental science and solar. I'll be here today helping facilitating the conversation, and please don't doubt to write anything on the chat. I'll be aware of that.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. And my name is Rebecca Wormley, and I am the COO and co-founder at Zendelity. For the last 25 years, I have been involved in the enterprise B2B space, working in communications, hospitality, customer experience management, analytics, the whole kind of spectrum. For the last really 4 years, I have really invested majority of my time and resources in really digging into what we're here to discuss today. This has been a journey, and this has been working with clients to really understand what their challenges are, what's working, what's not, so that we can come to the market with a solution that's going to bring you value. So I'm excited to take you through it. A little bit of background about us. Zendelity has actually been in business since 2011. We're currently deployed on some of the world's largest cruise ships. It was actually one of our cruise customers that came to us, TUI Cruise Lines came to us back in 2018, and they needed a better way to do fire watch on board the ship. So we built them what is really the prototype to what we're here to talk to you about today. And then of course, COVID hit. You can imagine what that did to our cruise business. So we've really invested the last 4 years, as I said, in working with clients, working with early adopters like Carleton University, C&W Services, in order to make sure that we understood your space, we understood your challenges, and that we could bring you a solution that was flexible, easy to use, and brought you immediate value. And I think we've done that. And I look forward to your feedback as part of today's discussion. Now, before we jump into, we're all here to have a discussion about a real-time audit trail and what it means for operations and for business. But before we jump into what we think it means and our thoughts on the topic, we'd love to actually open it up to the people here and understand what brought you here today. Is it frustrations that are driving you and looking for change? Is it the understanding and that the opportunities in change and what we can do? We'd love to hear your feedback. And to kick us off, I'm really pleased we have Nick Carmen here on the line today. Nick is a seasoned expert in the hospitality security side. So Nick, do you want to share with us just quickly what brought you here today and what interests you when it comes to, the value of a real-time audit trail?
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me. I just, for the group's clarity, I have been in a safety and security space for the last 20 years, hospitality, 12 of those years in different roles. A lot of those roles ended up in an audit or an inspection capacity. And a lot of my end of the month process has been exactly this. It's chasing down data, right? So typically for about 4 to 5 days, I'm on a gathering mission at the end of the month, which it's labor intensive, right? Then I normalize all of that data and I put it together. Now, what data am I talking about? I'm talking about the inspection trails. Any single inspection that was done in a hotel was part of our risk posture. It was something that we had to evaluate. And the cost of errors was probably my biggest bane, was because I would get errant information or I didn't have the ability to really understand the insights as they were coming in. So until the end of the month, I didn't know what the condition of the program was at. So, this is what has really drawn my attention to Zendelity, is the fact that I can get a real-time governance going, and then I can automate some of that end of the month process.
Perfect. Thanks, Nick. Now I'd invite, is there anyone else on the call that wants to share any of their thoughts on maybe frustrations or opportunity that drove you and brought you here today? We have anyone put up their hand? No? All right. Well,
Or submit something in the chat, either way.
yes, of course, or submit something in the chat. And you know what, we can come back to that as we go. Thank you, Nick, for sharing your perspective. It's great to hear your feedback. So thank you. So at the end of the day, we here at Zendelity are here to challenge the status quo. At the end of the day, when we look at our safety procedures, our safety protocols, in essence, we've been managing them the same way since approximately 1970, when the requirement around regulations and reporting on our safety activities first came into play. And this is a part of the business that truly or fundamentally hasn't really changed in the way we do it. So we want to challenge that assumption that we've been doing it this way for a long time and it's good enough. The reality is that we believe, as our goal today is to talk about, it's not good enough. It's exposing your operations to unnecessary risk, to increased overhead, administrative burden, and the like. So we want to challenge that status quo, and we're interested in, of course, in discussing that with you.
I want to add one thing, Rebecca. I think that a lot of companies and a lot of people are living by standard operating procedures. Now, a lot of those standard operating procedures were written years ago, and very often long before the person who has to enact them even started working there. So we want to challenge that, to use the challenge word that Rebecca just used, and talk about best practices. If your standard operating procedures don't reflect best practices, let us help you. We can show you a way. And so to make, if you will, SOPs become best practices, that's why we're here today.
Perfect. Thank you, Richard. Thank you. So, there's certain things in life, no matter how you slice or dice it, where last month data is simply not good enough. And we're here to challenge you and say we believe safety is one of those things. Just like you're not going to bet on the stock exchange based on last month's performance data, or you're not going to make decisions about how to respond based on last month's weather. There's certain things where we need to know exactly what is happening if we're going to be able to avert risk to protect the people. Whether it's customer dissatisfaction, responding to supply disruptions, whatever, we need our current information so that we can make an educated decision on how best to move forward, so we can mitigate that risk, so we can reduce our exposure.
So Nicholas just said that, actually. He said at the end of the month, he's running 4 or 5 hours trying to amass data to make sense out of it. And that's data he's looking at that's 30 days old. So he only does it once a month. That's the point we're making, is that real-time decisions based on current, up-to-the-minute data on your device, on your computer.
Absolutely. And I think, Nick, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you actually said 4 to 5 days, not hours.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. I wish
okay,
it
I
was hours.
exaggerated.
Well, you know,
So-
you're touching on something real quick. I'm sorry to interrupt, but you're kind of blowing my mind right now. So part of the reason that I do that, and maybe if anybody else is going through that process at the end of the month and they think I'm crazy for that kind of length of time, part of the reason that I do that is because that data helps me to forecast the risk spots. When I forecast the risk spots, I can address them right away. But like you're saying, the lagging data is one of the challenges, right? Not only is the inability for me to go get it, but it's also the lagging data. I need leading indicators, but those leading indicators come from those lagging insights. So that's how I was able to change my program health around, but I've been doing it manually. So if you're telling me this is something I could automate, then you have my attention.
All right. Well, perfect.
Yes, we
perfect. Yeah. And I think that you absolutely raise a really good point, right? And that is quality decision making requires quality data. And for data to be considered quality, to really give us the answers that we need, there's 3 requirements that we should be looking for in that data. It's timeliness. How current is that data? Again, are we making decisions based on last month's activities, or are we making decisions based on the here and now and the true situation? That data needs to be accurate, and it needs to be complete. It can't be lost or missing forms, missing information. We need to know that the information that we're looking at is an accurate reflection of the current situation. And then, of course, it needs to be trustworthy. You know, back in the day, they used to call it pencil whipping, where you'd have somebody was filling out that required operating procedure form or checklist from their desk or from their car. Definitely, we're nowhere near the required location to actually get the required data in order to fill out the form. So whether it's pencil whipping still or a digital form that you have, we need to be trustworthy. We need to be confident that the data we're making decisions on it is an accurate reflection of the situation, so we can know our responses will be with quality. Richard, did you have anything to add to that?
Well, I mean, I like the dart game because I like throwing darts. So, but I much prefer to have a scope on a rifle than to actually just throw a dart. So, without repeating all that stuff, accurate data in real time. And when we show you how that works, then, and especially if we have a conversation subsequent to this, talking about your operation, we'll show you how accuracy is happening in real time with our system.
Thank you. Yeah. So let's take a step back. So we've talked about how the importance of having quality data and not relying on last month's data for our decision making, and safety is no different. But yet when you look at the journey of our data going from from the collection of that data through into being stored in filing cabinets, on spreadsheets and digital databases, and in various form factors, it's all over the place. So when you actually step back and we look at the quality of our data that we're making decisions on, when it comes to safety, there's 3 distinct lacking traits. 1, the data is out of date. We've talked about that. It's old, last month's data. It's also exceptionally time consuming. When you think of, Nick, your time is worth a lot of money. And all of that time we're spending going looking for our data, going to source it, going to verify it, trying to understand it, is costing real hard dollars to your organization. And it's an important thing to keep that in mind. And then, And then finally, it's truly a gamble. As we've talked about, we don't know that the person was physically there in order to give us the data that we're looking for. We're very much in hopes that everything is set up as it is. The reality is, as I said, we are here to challenge the status quo. We don't need to rely on those old, outdated methods, that we have an opportunity to go from a manual to automatic, to having a real-time audit trail of something that you can count on.
I want to add one thing to that, Rebecca, very quickly. A lot of you have adopted all kinds of software and solutions that were either not used, dropped by the wayside, nobody understood, software that's just not being used. So adoption's easy. We really help with the adoption. So the adoption of Zendility Command Center is really easy, such that change happens in real time. And the forgotten people in these discussions are the people actually doing the checking. The people that are out there checking the fire extinguishers, fire doors, fire suppression systems, building systems. It's so easy for them to just tap, follow the instructions, and everything happens from them forward. So I'm assuring you that adoption of our solution leading to change is very seamless.
Well, so that's so great segue, Richard. So let's take a look at that. Or actually, before we jump into that, let's talk about actually why we should be considering change. Is this something that we should be discussing now? Why do we not want to wait until something goes bad and this conversation, our hand is forced? Because there's a lot of existing things that are costing our organizations, your organization's money, that can be addressed and simplified with a real-time audit trail for your safety protocols. It's not uncommon this year for your insurance premiums to increase by 15% if you're considered a high-risk organization. In other words, if you've got lots of claims, if you've got lots of security issues, you're not doing your due diligence. We're also, I think everybody in this call can probably agree, we are facing a distinct labor shortage in a way that we have not for years and years and years. Not only is it hard to find new employees, but the turnover rates are impacting us huge. And every time we have an employee turnover, every time we're trying to onboard a new employee to replace them, we are exposed to risk because there's people are learning new procedures. People don't understand what's actually is required. So it's really important that we look at technology and look at ways to help circumvent that labor shortage and get those employees up and running and performing as quickly as possible. And then finally, regulatory complexity. I think as we saw with COVID, the requirements from public health were changing, if not on a daily basis for some industries, for example, long-term care, definitely on a weekly basis. And that momentum continues across all of our regulations as we learn more. So, it's not going to get easier. It's just going to get more complex. And the sooner that we can kind of wrap our arms around this and understand this, the better off and the more protected we'll be.
I want to just add a quick note, and I want to leap on that middle one, labor shortage. I just want to say that you got a new employee, they have a device, they just walk up to a NFC tag, and it tells them exactly what to do with whatever it is they're tasked to do. In other words, you don't have to job shadow them. If that person shows up a day later and you've changed the parameters or added something else to check, unbeknownst to them, it doesn't matter. They tap the NFC tag and it says, oh, I want you to check the hose as well, or check the dial, or check something. So in real time, new employees, contractors, if you will, are all kept abreast of what is required at each station, whether it's how to use a shovel or anything. So we just make it very simple, especially again with labor shortage, new employees and contract employees.
Yeah, very, very good, Richard. I well said. Thank you. So let's look at that. So Richard has alluded to it. So, as we've said, we have designed a way to give you a real-time end-to-end audit trail of all of your safety protocols. So what does that mean? That means that you've got the confidence that every safety check, inspection, procedure is done on time, that it's accurately documented, and that information is easily accessible and at our fingertips so that we can make those quality decisions on what's best for the company. And what does it do? It helps us reduce our risk because we know that those safety protocols are being followed. As businesses, we've invested thousands and thousands of man hours in defining and building our procedures. But if they're not being followed, that investment is lost. So by making sure the right person's in the right place at the right time, we reduce our risk. We also have an opportunity to optimize those resources. Some of our biggest expenses is all of those individuals that we rely on day in, day out in order to run our property and to run it smoothly. If we can optimize those resources, if we can do more with less, not only are we going to increase satisfaction and happiness from an employee's perspective, but of course, we're going to be more efficient as an organization. And then finally, a real-time audit trail and an audit trail for your safety protocols is really going to allow you to protect your investment. As an organization, as a business, you have put millions of dollars into your infrastructure, your building, your facility, and all of the tools and assets required to run them. By making sure that those are maintained and running smoothly, then we're going to protect that investment and extend the life. Oh, Jorge's got just 1 second. We got a question. Pardon me? Oh, hi, Nick. Did you want to add something?
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's me again. It's me again. So I'm just listening to you talk and I'm listening to the word safety. And something that I came across was that safety was ambiguous, right? So if I talk to one worker about safety versus another worker, they might have a different idea of what that is. But in the umbrella of safety, part of my responsibility were inspections that were related to safety, regulatory compliance, stuff like that. But another part of my responsibility was to monitor the inspections that took place on boilers, chillers, really our refrigeration units, and anything else that was inspectable as part of that overall program health. Does Zendelity, do you have the ability to incorporate any type of inspection?
Absolutely. Yeah. What Command Center has really been designed to conform to our customers and the way you do business and the way you operate. So unlike other technology where maybe you've got to change your procedures to adapt to the technology, we can take any standard operating procedures that you depend on today and build it into the system using your own terminology and your own words. So getting users up and running quickly and efficiently, and it's like a dream.
So I want to add one thing,
Thank you.
Rebecca. So sorry to cut you off, Nick, but I just want to key on 2 words here. Your investment protection has got to do with people. Your most expensive asset in any company is people, and workers' compensation and lost time and all that stuff. So really, it's an investment in people protection, because that is what's costing you a lot of money. And when we talk about reducing risk, if you take the case of a lockout tagout situation, you can have it such that when there is a lockout, a notification can be sent out. So some supervisor knows that, hey, Hank is going into a dangerous area. He has clicked on the tag. He's going into a lockout tagout. Although all the instructions will be sent to him, that manager or leader, whatever you want to call him, can make sure that Hank is in fact well versed in what to do so he doesn't get hurt. Again, investment of your people. That's really what this is all about.
Absolutely. And so let's look at the way this actually works to put in perspective, right? So you've heard Richard talk about NFC tags or smart tags is what, some people may know them as. So what we've done that's different is we take a smart tag and we put it on any asset or any location across your facility that you want to manage standard operating procedures against. We then put that into our portal. Users have access to those guided work plans, which tells them exactly what needs to be done, where, when, and how. They can be scheduled and organized and make it really easy for our users to understand, or the doers to understand, what do you actually need me to do? What things should I be looking at, and what data do we need to be able to make those educated decisions? And all of that information is collected and visible in real time within our dashboard. We do automatic alerts via email or SMS. So as Richard likes to say, if you need to be in the know about something, you can be in the know in real time exactly as it's happening.
Actually, what I say, Rebecca, there's no defense to not knowing what is knowable.
There you go. There you go. Sorry, I butchered that a little bit, but that's fantastic. Thank you. So we can collect that information, any issues that are identified. So within our system, we've created business rules, or you would create it as a user, your business rules based on your own operating standards. So what do you consider a deficiency? When do you want to be notified of that deficiency? And then who needs to be notified? And then centralized within the system, all of those deficiencies are managed. Everybody is automatically notified when those deficiencies are reached, so you can take immediate corrective action. We don't now need to wait until the end of the month where we do our audit and we run our reports and we find that data to know that we've been exposed for the last 20 days. We can know that information in real time. So again, we can take immediate corrective actions. We can ensure that those issues don't turn into, from anthills into mountains, or whatever the case is, because we have that information and we can take immediate corrective action. And then all of that data is maintained within an audit-proof database. So you know that the right person was physically in the required location at the right time in order to facilitate the data collection to complete the standard operating procedures that are necessary for compliance purposes, and then simply pull up that data from within a single database. So now we don't need to go running around and find all of our data. When the fire inspector or the regulator arrives, we simply need to pull up the required work plan associated with that regulation, and we can show exactly who did what, when, where, and how.
I just want to add one thing, Rebecca. So we have McLean on board, which is a fairly complex company with the equipment they build. But whether it's maintenance of or operating a piece of equipment, it's not a stretch to have a tag on a cab of a machine, of a bolter or something, and or a tag talking about maintenance. So at least you can say when you ship the product that you sent the proper instructions for the proper usage, and the person who operates it needs to have a certain certification. All of that can be expressed again on the system. So it's not limited to health safety, maintenance, operations, anything at all.
Anything operating procedure, absolutely, absolutely. And I think when you when you dig into what we have created here with Command Center, what you will find is our solution is unique against any other technologies, whether it's your computerized maintenance management system, whether it's your health and safety software, whether it's your asset management or your incident reporting software. There's three core areas that make what we're doing unique to us and the opportunity. One, again, it's audit proof. We tie the operating procedures directly to the specific asset. When I was in my call center, contact center days, and we used to record customer calls from the moment that individual called all the way through your routing systems, which call center agents they talked to, how long they were on hold, it was called cradle to grave reporting. Well, this is in essence cradle to grave reporting of your standard operating procedures against any particular asset. So now when a warranty comes due and you need to demonstrate your commitment, you can easily access that required information. So we're audit proof. Two, it's real time. Right? This is a real time down to the task level of exactly what is going on across your property. So from a real time, from a situational awareness, you're going to have visibility that has never been available before down to this level of detail. And then finally, it comes back to our best practices. Through a click of a button, we can implement best practices and automatically push them down to our users. We don't need to worry about version control and finding forms and replacing old checklists and all of that information. As soon as you make a change to your operating procedure and push it live, everybody who is responsible for completing that automatically has the latest version. So you can be confident that your staff are adhering to those best practices. Do you have anything to add on that, Richard?
Well, you just stole my thunder, but yeah, best practices mean best practices. So for those that write SOPs and they wrote them last week, well, I'll prefer to take a best practice written 5 minutes ago. So that's the point, right? Fresh is best. Go ahead, Nicholas. I thought I saw a question.
I posted something in the chat. How do you guys verify the data? So once that user is, accomplishing the task, how do I know that user is accomplishing the task? How do I verify that data?
So within that, we attach an NFC tag, so to the actual fire extinguisher that is specifically in question and tie those procedures directly to it. So the individual opens in this case, actually, you know what? So our solution, let me just take a step back. So our solution works on the concept of work plans. You can have any number of work plans that you want based on any standard operating procedure that matters. Any work plan includes every number of work items. Work items are the specific instructions or what needs to be done. That is what is associated to a piece of equipment, and we do that through the smart tag. So that's how we verify that the right information and procedures are being followed against the correct piece of equipment. Yeah.
Excellent. No,
And
thank you so
then,
much. Go
no
ahead.
problem. And then, so just for visualization here, you know, if I had my phone, we would have it, for example, at Carleton. Carleton is our earliest adopter. They've been with us since 2011 and have completed over 200,000 tasks, 40,000 inspections to date. And so what they started with was their fire extinguishers. So they have a dongle attached to every single one of their fire extinguishers. So they have created 52 work plans, one for every building on their campus. And then every fire extinguisher is a work item within that. And then they collect their 4 key pertinence pieces of data. For them is the pin in, is the hose attached, is the pressure in the green, and is it properly mounted? And they get automatic, Chad, the emergency coordinator, gets automatic alerts when any one of those is out of adherence. So for Carleton University, for them, this has given them confidence in compliance. Chad was a firefighter. He was also a fire inspector, and now he is in the business of fire prevention. And what he loves to say is he goes home at the end of the day confident that everything's actually been done to reduce risk, helps us save time and optimize his resources, and then improve his budget allocation because he's got better visibility into all of his assets and equipment that are across his organization that he relies on.
Yeah, and I just want to illustrate one more thing. You know, if it's a very complex situation, the worker, the person comes up, taps the tag, and it says there are 3 things, but it says right on there, did you use manual number 43 or something? In other words, it can reference a manual with a lot of data, a lot of requirements, or you could reference a link to a video if you want. It can say, click on this link to go to, and then they can, and if you will, use that technology. But there's no limitation. It just requires imagination to be able to apply this to anything and all things that people use, so they do so knowingly and safely. And I'll take the AED in the top right of this visual, if you will, because somebody hasn't checked the AED, it's not your fault. Somebody has a choking incident, and God help them, they're dead. Because somebody went and got the AED and it's broken, missing, smashed. It was not charged up. Something was wrong with it, but nobody knew because it was checked 20 days ago, but nobody knew that. So not to use fear as a tactic, but in the case of an AED, it's pretty important to know that when it was checked and that it was functional. And that is proof for you, because when the lawyers come calling for wrongful death, and if you can prove that you've done everything conceivable, then you're far ahead than wagging your head and saying, well, I didn't know. Because again, there's no defense to not knowing what is knowable. It was knowable that you should have known. We just make knowing happen.
Fair enough. Thank you. And you know, and there's really, this is just a few of the examples for areas where we can, you know, transform your operating procedures. But I think Richard hit the nail on the head, and we're only really limited by your imagination. It's what is important to your operation, what matters to you, what is keeping you up at night, what is costing you money, what is costing you risk. And let's digitally transform that. Let's give you the power of understanding where you currently sit at any given time. So, before we open it up to just general questions, and again, please bring all of your questions where we would love to discuss. We're an open book. But, as Richard talked about in the beginning, we hope that this is the first of many conversations. And, we would love to sit down with you and your key stakeholders, all of those people that play a role in safety, because I think one thing that we can admit is it's not just one person who plays a role in safety. We've got all of the key players, from the individuals and the departments that are responsible for doing the work, not just one department, going to be many departments, to risk management, to legal, to all of those teams that, if you will, pay the price when something does go wrong. Let's bring those people together to understand their risks and prioritize and help you address them in a quick and an efficient manner. So before we open up to questions, Richard, did you have any?
Well, I was going to suggest, folks, don't be shy. If you want to forward or tell people about this video or about us, please do. I mean, it's a great message. Of course, we're quite excited about it, and the people we're helping are extremely grateful. So all we're saying is, within your companies, there are other people who contribute to the decision making. Share the video if you wish, or tell them to contact us. But yeah, it's okay for you to tell lots of people about us. We're okay with that.
We're okay with that, yeah. So with that, I'd love to open it up to questions. Does anybody have any questions or things you'd like to discuss today?
This is my last one because I know I've taken up so much time.
Oh, we love it. It's great. Thank you.
I don't want to dissuade anybody else from talking, but I thought I heard at the beginning of the call that there were other hoteliers here, or at least another hospitality company. I'm curious to know, from an operational standpoint, if you guys sort of see the same things I see, or what your thoughts might be, because this is new to me.
Yeah, that's us here at Brook Street. So I'd have also our maintenance manager as well. And we've been kind of chit-chatting throughout this and seeing like possibilities we can do. And even outside of safety, security, work orders, scheduling, fire inspections, like putting things in it, using it as an Outlook calendar almost.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay.
And
That's good.
adding the steps, like, call whatever fire department, or we were talking about our boards, just checking, someone going in and double checking the boards to ensure the information is accurate.
Yep, that was huge for me, was the boards, going after the boards every month too, because it wasn't so much the cleanliness accuracy that I was looking for, was the process, because our process was largely defined by how we had evaluated it for safety. And so that's interesting. I didn't think about it using it from the scheduling standpoint. It's good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both. Anybody else have any additional thoughts or ideas they'd like to put on the table?
But by the way, I just want to segue. I stayed at the Brook Street Hotel, by the way, and it is a very nice place. I felt very safe there. Just thought I'd tell you.
It's a beautiful place. Yeah.
No other questions?
So with that, I'd like to thank you everybody for your time today. We will follow up. We'll share a recording of this, and again, as Richard said, please, we encourage you to share it. Hopefully, as we said, we can have that discussion about what makes sense for you and your operation. We recognize that every business is unique and different and brings its own set of challenges to the table. And I think it always starts to really make sure we understand you and can bring you value to your specific requirements. So with that, thank you very much. And we look forward to connecting and staying in touch. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Take care.